I feel if you do not look at solutions from the lens of how it changes it to be better for people, then you have lost, because you're more interested in getting technology out there without realizing what that technology could do for you or should do for you.
The technology is one thing and has the ability to tie all these pieces together, right?
Their first impression of your company is the applicant experience. Developers in particular are looking at the technology that you're using and saying to themselves, how innovative is this company really?
The way we're operating today is significantly different because we have to address the need of the candidate in a way that's different than it ever has been.
We create and we measure and we monitor engagement opportunities to strengthen a work culture where people belong and they can do their best work.
At the core of it, it really is about helping other people and helping the business be successful. That's what I love the most.
Hey everyone, I'm Ben Eubanks, Chief Research Officer at Lighthouse Research and Advisory, and I have with me George Rogers, our Chief Culture Officer, and we are some of the judging panel here at the HR Tech Awards, and we're going to be announcing some of the winners today. George, I'm so excited. I get pumped about this every year. How about you?
Once again, it's that time of the year again, so I'm very excited, especially seeing some of these companies being able to dive, behind the scenes in a sense on some of the software and how it's working and how it really aligns with these awards that they are winning. So I'm excited.
I always get excited to see what's going on there, and it's kind of my pulse on the market, what's changing, what's new, what's different. So just to give all of you some insight, I know some of you chiming in today are going to be our contestants in this. Some of you may be practitioners out there, employers looking for technologies. So stay tuned. You'll hear about some of the tools and the companies that we've looked at, we've vetted through this, and you'll here's what happens. Every year we open the process, we allow people to submit their companies, their technologies for consideration, and we review the technology. We look at case studies of actual customers and the results that they're getting. We look at demos and we do sandbox accounts and test these things out and kind of play with it ourselves. We get a chance to look at and really get a feel for these technologies. And that's where the majority of the scores come from, is looking at those pieces. Then we also take some other things into account, like differentiators. How are you different from the other companies that also try to solve the same problem? And you'll see as we go through, some of the companies in these, well, they may be competitors technically, but usually there's a unique differentiator, something special about that company, a way they're approaching the problem that sets them apart a little bit. So anyone listening in, if you see your logo up here and this is the first you're hearing about it, number one, congratulations. And number two, reach out to our team, because we probably tried to get in touch with you and you may have missed that, or it may have gotten caught in a spam filter or something like that. So we're excited to just walk through and share these. We'll talk through each major category, and you'll see on each category a badge. So we have a category like core HR or talent acquisition, some of the big buckets. And then within that, there are narrower defined areas like best global solution or best solution for business impact, best solution for small businesses, to give you an insight there. Again, if you're one of those companies out there looking for technology, it will help you think through which ones are the right ones for you. Guess what? If someone says, what's the best recruiting technology? Well, the one that may work for the companies that I've worked for in the past will be different than the ones that George worked for in the past. It's just different companies. So instead of saying this is the best one, we'll say this is the best in terms of small business or large companies, or if you're a global organization that's distributed, those kind of things. Okay. Any other things I've left out, George, before we dive into this?
Sounds good to me. Let's roll.
All right, let's make it happen. Okay, so first category we're going to go through is core HR and workforce. This year we had some amazing entries in this space, and as you can see here, I've kind of broken it out. I'll show you a couple of categories and subcategories for each of these slides, and give a shout out to some of the companies in those spaces. So best mid-sized business solution is Paycor. They're doing really good work with that. And then talent intelligence, EY is doing some incredible work with their Skills Foundry program. Again, we don't have enough time today to get into every one of these companies, what they're doing. But one of the things we're going to do this year for the first time ever, I meant to mention this earlier, is we're actually going to be sharing a few of the judges' comments and feedback, the ones that are fit for publication for sharing openly. We'll share those out with the resources we're going to be mentioning at the very end of this conversation today, this live stream. We're going to be getting those out so that any of you that are listening in can see some of the things that judges thought about each of these companies, and give you some insight into them at a deeper level. So if we don't give you a shout out here and you're one of our winners, we're going to still give you some love there, blog posts and press releases and other things as well. So stay tuned. All right. So congratulations to these companies for winning here in these categories. this is best innovative and emerging tech. So you'll see this as we go through. This is a subcategory that looks at companies that are solving an old problem in a new way. For example, AbsentSoft is focusing on employee leave and tracking that and everything else. So many companies use paper, use spreadsheets, and that's an example of that. And these others as well are looking at new and different ways to approach common problems that we face when it comes to core HR. Beyond that, the second category here, subcategory, is global solutions. So companies that have global operations. If you have people in multiple countries or you're looking at expanding, these are the kind of companies and partners you should be considering because they have technology built specifically to solve some of those problems that come along with that. I know that my own experience as an HR leader, I put people in multiple countries around the world, whether it was in the UK, it was in Saudi Arabia, it was in other places. And that always came with a little bit of interesting challenges, we'll just say. And so appreciate each of them for the good work that they're doing. George, as I'm going through, if there's one that you remember that you had a chance to put your hands on from a judging perspective, just give a shout out. Let me know the thing that stood out to you. So last two more things on the core HR workforce, two more groups. So Frontline, Harry is a great company, does great work there serving employers, the frontline employees. And so they get the shout out. I know, George, you actually had a chat with their team recently on some of the work that they're doing.
Yeah, we just did a conversation with a VP there. Had a great conversation specifically on the engagement. Now they're obviously in the food industry is one of their top clients and things of that nature. So really engaging on the retention phase, how they've been able to bring some light there. Been into not necessarily food industry myself, but even in retail, keeping a lot of those people and being able to plug them into a way of engagement, but also a relationship beyond just the hiring process. That kind of goes beyond why they stay and why they want to be a part of a company, and those tie-ins there with their development. So great conversation for sure.
Yeah, excellent. All right, so congrats to Harry. And then small business focused solutions. So if you're at one of the smaller companies out there, if you're working in one of those organizations, you know what I mean when I say you're a little bit different. You don't have extra people around, you don't have extra resources, you don't have extra budget. And so you've got to find companies that are geared towards your budget, your problems, your needs, and that have a solution that doesn't require 6 months of ramp up to figure out how to use it. You need something that's quick and easy. And so those are some of the things we're filtering our perspectives through as we're looking at, as the judges are looking at these types of companies. So you see everything from payroll and core HR companies here in this list to companies that focus on compliance and helping employers to make better choices, to even when I work, focus on some of their things when it comes to, again, frontline employees and workforce management, all that good stuff. So congratulations to these companies on their wins in the HR Tech Awards this year. In addition, our last category here for core HR, before we switch gears, is best comprehensive solution. So that's for the largest companies, those companies that have larger enterprise or companies that have some more unique demands as a larger organization on the flip side of that small business. So companies like Experian are helping companies that are screening and bringing in lots and lots of employees to figure out how to check on and check the backgrounds and make sure that you're doing verifications, all that good stuff. Some of those things that are kind of like nuts and bolts, core blocking and tackling, so that HR leaders are not focused on the busy work, but they're focused on the strategic needs of the business, as well as Papaya Global is doing some good stuff there as well. And Paycor really helping companies that are expanding, that are growing, that are reaching larger audiences, larger numbers of employees, and helping to serve them through some of their unique capabilities. And last but not least, core HR best DEI solution, Circa from Tech. I know, George, that was actually one. You're our DEI expert on staff. And so that was one that you actually put your hands on. Anything that you recall from that entry that stood out to you?
Yeah, so obviously in the DEI space, that that piece on making sure there's inclusivity across the board and that balance, making sure obviously in the way that employees understand that transparency. We talk about transparency a lot and make sure that it's clear cut. And so one of the things that really stuck out with me is how their transparency really works in a way that you're included from the beginning to the end, and there is a lot of that gap that's not there with their possibilities on their software.
Wonderful. Awesome. Again, you'll see the Meet Your Tech name a couple of times. The company has the history, legacy of acquiring good companies, bring them under that bigger umbrella. So we'll see them a couple of times through the awards program because they have different types of products, different solutions they bring to the table. And so we love seeing the kind of things and kind of innovation they're taking. By the way, I just mentioned Mineral on that previous slide. Mineral was one of the companies recently acquired by them. And so just lots of good stuff on their side. So there's our core HR and workforce winners. Again, spanning kind of the payroll, workforce management side of the HR function. We're going to transition to the next category. I think it's our biggest category every single year because especially as employers in the last few years have really struggled with creative ways to find new employees, find new talent, searching, sourcing, screening, vetting, all of those kinds of things. So we're going to talk about talent acquisition next up as our next big set of categories. The first one here I want to touch on is best innovative or emerging technology. There is no shortage of problems in TA as employers are trying to find out how to hire and all the things I just mentioned. And so we see some really unique ways of trying to solve those problems. And that's what you see here. This first subcategory is all about how to do that. So as an example, Phenom's doing some really great work with generative AI and bringing that into the process and making it very easy for employers to automate some things and keep their hands on others, the things that really matter to them, really helping with things like high volume hiring, other areas as well. So they're doing some good stuff. I actually had a chance to visit with their team last week at their conference in Philadelphia. That was a blast. Other companies do other things though. The team at Qualify, for example, does automated screening of candidates. So if you're a company that's trying to figure out, we don't have enough bandwidth to screen all these people, Qualify is doing some really interesting things there with voice-based and other types of screening for employers. And one other one I'll give a shout out to really quickly is Find Them. So if you're one of those companies that's sourcing and seeking and looking for talent and always trying to figure out, how do we know if this is a good person or not? How do I know if I've found someone who's as qualified and competent as a George Rogers, for example, when I'm doing this digging? I don't want to get stuck with someone else. And so Find Them has done this thing recently. They call it their 3D source of data, and it gives you a different layer of insight on someone, not just their resume or their background, but the kind of company they were at and what happened during that company's history to give you some unique perspectives. And it's, I guess, one of those things that you almost have to see to believe, but there are some really interesting things there. So congratulations to the winners here. Each of you are serving and solving different kinds of problems and serving employers in unique ways. We appreciate you. On the frontline side, Fountain is doing some incredible work, and it's so fun because one of the friends that I have, who's worked in sales in the recruiting space for a very long time, he just reached out the other day because he had just joined Fountain and was telling me completely had no clue that they were about to win an award here. And so he was giving me some input on his experiences. So congratulations to the Fountain team on that win for best frontline focused solution. Employers looking to do the frontline hiring, give them a look. On the DEI side, George, I'm going to throw this one back at you as well, if you don't mind throwing a comment in here. But Succeed Smart is doing some good stuff there. One of the things we saw, I know in our data last year, because George actually spoke on it some, was DEI, inclusive hiring. That was one of the top priorities for employers, and they were looking at different ways to solve for that. George, anything you want to chime in there on as far as Succeed Smart or just the trend around DEI and inclusive hiring?
Yeah, I think, it brings that, what we call the fresh new perspective. There's always something new that's kind of gathering around. And one of the things that was very intriguing about this platform and digging into it is I'm a person of simplicity, but also efficiency. So that simple, efficient way that they allow employers to kind of move faster and less bias and be, again, here's the word, transparent throughout the selection process and the hiring process helps with what I like to call culture fit, not necessarily fitting in, but culture added into that, that space where they're able to bring in not just what looks like them, but leadership, that talent that truly propels them for the best in business for their organizations.
Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you, George. Appreciate that. And I think the transparency thing is so important. We see that in lots of different areas, especially with the rise of AI technologies and hiring, things like that. Candidates get a little bit skittish about it, but we see in the data that when we're transparent, we're open, they generally have more openness to AI being used to screen them or to find them when it comes to the job search. So the transparency piece is so critical, and I'm glad you called that one out. On the second category here on screen is the comprehensive solution. So again, largest employers, the big companies looking for things. And so we see some companies like Sense, Symphony Talent, AssureHire, Meet Your Tech, another company there, Sterling, iCIMS. Each of these companies is built to serve the companies with the largest employer sizes, but also the largest hiring volumes and needs there, as you can see here. So different approaches. Some of these are focused on background checking and screening and making sure we're getting the right person in the right seat. Others are focused on how do we manage this whole process? How do we get candidates to engage? All of that. So really, really great solutions there. And congratulations to each of those companies for their wins. The other two categories here that we want to talk about are business best analytics, measurement, and impact. So we look for technologies companies that are helping employers to understand and prove the value back to the business. We just finished a big study on talent acquisition. George and I shared on that just a few short weeks ago during a live stream, some of the findings of it. And one of the big things that stood out was when we ask employers, what data, what metrics prove the value back to the business? Number one was quality of hire. If we know the quality of hire, we can show the business how valuable we are as a hiring function. And so Pensight, SmartRank, that's one of the things they're helping companies do. They're helping them in different ways. Pensight's focused more on the executive side and SmartRank more on broad hiring needs, but helping companies to figure out who the right people are to hire so they can create better outcomes. All right. And then practical AI. George, you know, this AI is like my favorite thing to talk about just because it's an important piece. It brings value to employers, but also because it helps us get back to that vision of what great looks like and helps us reconnect with those things. So we're not so busy churning away at stuff. And so each of these companies here across the spectrum are doing some unique things, from sourcing like SeekOut. Hire Logic is helping with interviews. Succeed Smart, as we mentioned earlier, executive side. Mercer's doing some creative things with skills for employers that are skills-based organizations or wanting to be. Mercer's actually doing some things to support and serve in that area, which is kind of fun to see them in the TA space, because we usually expect them to be in total rewards and comp. So that's kind of a great extension for them. And then Hiring Branch is doing great work in screening, helping employers find the best candidates, screen, vet them, and make more careful and data-based, data-driven hiring decisions overall. So congratulations to them. And last but not least, best talent intelligence. So talent intelligence is this category that's kind of come out in the last couple of years. It's a little bit fuzzy sometimes. How do you define that? But overall, we're looking at what solutions give us more insights into who we're trying to bring in. Help us tell you more about that candidate than just the resume. I want to understand who they are, what they're about. Right? If I look at George's resume, it doesn't tell me about his attitude, about his personality, about his behavior. It doesn't tell me those things. And so these solutions help to get closer to that. And so congratulations to each of these companies for winning that award in that category, because you're helping employers get a better view of the people they're trying to bring on. Our next category, we're moving right along. I'm trying to look at my slide numbers here and I can't even find it. Yeah, we're more than halfway done here today. We've rearranged this year, by the way, for those of you that are new to this program. We've rearranged it so it's not going to take an entire hour to give all these shout outs, because we're going to spend some time on the back end sharing these feedback, things like that, and I mentioned earlier, so that each of these companies gets the kudos and the credit and the rewards that they deserve. All right, so talent management. How are we managing our people, performance, all of those kinds of things? Are we setting their goals? Are we keeping them on target? This is one of the things that George and I spent a lot of time on in the last 6 to 9 months, really looking at the employee side, how they feel, as well as the employer side, what sort of things companies are doing to try to solve for this. So this is always exciting for me to see this sort of transition. I'm going to give you a minute to shout out on one of these in a minute, George, but talent intelligence solution here as well. What insight do we have into our people? Not just candidates, but our existing workforce. So Cornerstone's doing some incredible work there, helping companies see and understand their workforce at a deeper level, not just their job title, but what they're about and the skills they bring to the table. Paycor's doing some really creative things in this area as well, which is encouraging to me. You don't expect an HCM payroll company to be doing some innovative things there, and yet Paycor has several awards through the program this year, because they are really expanding and looking at talent across the board and saying this is just about paying people correctly. That matters, but we've got to manage and support and serve the people as well. And this is an example of that. And then last but not least, Trackstar, Mitra Tech, doing good work as well. In the innovative emerging tech, I mentioned this earlier on the TA side, but Phenom is doing some incredible work using AI, and it also extends into the workplace. So helping people connect with mentors, find career paths that matter to them, using AI to predict and recommend and connect with the people's skills and understand those things, doing some great work there. We appreciate them. And then Fuel 50 as well. It's doing some good work on career pathing. That's their core focus, and they've done that really well for a long time. And best mid-sized business solution. Goodness, it's hard to get that one out of my mouth. So we have small organizations, we have those that are very large, and mid-size is kind of in the middle there between those two. And those companies often are in a point of transition. They need clarity in what's happening, but they're starting to get past that small business where everyone knows everyone. So we need to be more agile as an organization. How do we make that transition? And so we see companies like 15Five and Engagedly helping companies to get better clarity into each individual, what they bring to the table, their strengths. How do we recognize them, bring out their best efforts, all of that kind of stuff. And so congratulations to them. George, I think you had one or two of the companies here on the screen. I can't remember which ones exactly, but anything you want to chime in on, or just overall talent management, a thing that's top of mind for you as a priority for companies?
Yeah, I think overall, and I'll just pinpoint 15Five was one that kind of stuck out for me with the power of their effectiveness, especially again when I say simplicity. I like to keep things simple for talent management and that aspect, and being able to roll that out. Implementation is a huge deal, and then actually working that wheel, right? So once you get it implemented, how do we keep this momentum and going with our program? I think 15Five and that team there does a fantastic job when it comes to the effectiveness that managers find with the support with their platform.
Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you for chiming in on that one. Okay. Last one on talent management. Then we're going to transition to analytics, total rewards, and so on, finish up for the day. There's a couple left. So talent management, looking at number one, best impact, best understanding of what's happening. How does our talent driving an impact to the business? Because we all know they do. We need to prove and back that up. And that's what Fit is doing. Fit is one of the companies. I love seeing this every year. We have some great representation from other countries, not just North America, but around the world. And every year we get that question as part of the awards. Hey, we're based in Italy. We're based in France. We're based in Africa. We're trying to submit for this. Is that okay? And we absolutely accept and encourage those companies to do it, because great ideas, great technology is not limited by geography, right? So we can do that from anywhere. Beyond that one, we have best comprehensive. Again, I give Paycor some shout outs earlier. BetterWorks is doing some amazing work here around helping companies to see and understand their workforce, get the most from them, give them the most in return as well. Not just squeezing people like a lemon, but getting the most value from those people and helping them to find fulfilling and valuable work. Doing some incredible work there, and we appreciate BetterWorks for all of that. They're doing some pretty interesting things with AI as well when it comes to feedback, reviews, and so on, and definitely worth a look if you're thinking about those kind of things. And then DEI solutions. So Mercer is doing some good work there with helping employers to serve and support their employees in an inclusive sort of way across talent management. And we appreciate them for their input, for their support of the workforce, and for an encouragement for winning that one. On talent analytics, this year we had more entries in analytics than we've ever had in the past, George. And that encourages me as someone who's a bit of a data nerd, or a lot of a data nerd maybe, just because when I was working in HR, it was hard to get data out of the systems we were using. And you see the companies here represented on screen that said, no, we're going to change that. Some of them say, we're going to build that ourselves. Some of them are acquiring that to put it in. Some of these companies here, like Activate, even Vizier is doing some of this, where they say, no, we'll partner with other companies and be their analytics engine. So the people, the employers out there can get more data from the tools they're using to make decisions. Data in its own sake doesn't help anybody. I can give all of you reams of information, but if you don't know what to do next, it doesn't help. And so that's the real value I see in this. And so companies across the spectrum, like here on the left, Presidio is doing some incredible work with conversational AI. You can ask, hey, how many of our high performing employees left in the last 6 months? And it can tell you the answer to that kind of question, which I think is exciting for busy people who don't have a lot of time to dive in and look at every number. That kind of thing helps you get right to it and make decisions based off of that. And here in the center category column on measurement impact solutions, these different companies are looking at this in different ways. Edligo is doing some good stuff with skills and seeing our people at the skill level and using that to make decisions about how we support our talent, what we should be investing in, what direction the company is going, how do those strategies align, all that good stuff. And then last but not least, excuse me, iSolved is in here for talent intelligence. So iSolved is one of those payroll HCM companies, and it may be surprising to see them here, but they acquired an organization a few years ago and have put that into the product, and they call it predictive people analytics. And these tools give you insights, not just into what happened in the past, but what's coming next. And it allows you to forecast into the future about what what should our turnover rate probably be in the coming quarter? And it gives you insights into that kind of thing. As an HR leader, that's invaluable because it helps you see that trending stuff over time and make decisions about what's next. Again, that's the biggest part of this. It's not data itself, it's the decisions that it unlocks. All right, so total rewards and employee well-being. And then I think employee experience is our last category today before we wrap up with some announcements and other things that all of you need to know. So total rewards and well-being, employee well-being, covering the support of our people. And George is kind of our expert on the employee well-being side overall. George, anything you want to give a shout out to on the employee well-being, just again, trends, what's happening in that space before I give some shout outs to some of the winners here?
Obviously, I want to say first off, with May being around the corner here and mental health awareness, some of these are very important, especially not just from a mental health standpoint, and what companies are doing to prepare for that. The burnout, there's different things that kind of lead to those things, right? We got burnout, got making sure that it's more than just, how we are giving these benefits to our employees, but actually rehumanizing it and really bringing that balance. And so when you have employee engagement rising up, that brings that peace of mind to people where they feel like they're appreciated, they're accepted, that piece of a belonging, right, and respected by their managers. All these things kind of tie into it. So having something that brings support more than just recognition. What's the language of our employees? Some people might like recognition, but some people might like just a letter, things of that nature. So balancing all those things out, from well-being to burnout to that mental health, all those things kind of wrapping up. One of the things that excite me was that there's a lot of balance, especially in a few of these leaders and award winners, where they're providing not just a one road, opportunity, but something that's, going to be able to meet the diverse crowd.
Excellent. I completely agree with that. That encourages me too, that we're looking at this category is kind of all encompassing. I'm reading this on screen, like total rewards is one thing, employee well-being is almost entirely separate piece we could focus on just in itself. But each of these companies trying to make sure that they're serving people well. They're trying to make sure that people are getting the most out of work that they need, that they deserve. So they're having a fulfilling experience there overall. So really quickly, Rain is doing some great work with earned wage access, helping employees get access to their own money that they've already earned before payday in case they have personal needs, they have emergencies, things like that, helping them to bridge that gap. Instead of me going to get a 800% loan from someone down the street, I can access my own wages that I've already earned in advance and help me to overcome any sort of financial challenges there, which I love. Alight and salary.com are both winning for best comprehensive solution. So largest employers out there looking for a solution that can scale up to your size, that can handle the complexities, multiple geographies, locations, potentially even countries. Alight, salary.com, again, very different solutions, but both of them serving and solving problems in that area. So thank you to them for submitting and for their entries, and congratulations for winning. And Elevate won for best advanced and practical AI. As I mentioned earlier, one of the things about AI that we always look for is we're not looking for someone that talks about AI as a AI first company. Okay. As the person who wrote the book on that may surprise you to hear that, but I want to focus on the solutions. Practical AI is the category they won in because it's about solving a practical need an employer has. It ties to a need that the workforce has overall. So congratulations to Elevate on that. And our last one here is Kudos. Their real focus is on helping employers build a great culture, which is George's love language, I think, is helping to build a great culture and focus on that. So congratulations to the Kudos team for winning there and helping employers to create a culture that's visible, that's tangible, that's relevant to every single person that they're serving in the workforce. We appreciate you for participating. And our last one here is on employee experience. So giving a quick shout out to some of our friends, the team over at Bonusly, for example, culture building, focusing on using recognition, using the engagements, interactions with our people to create better outcomes, better conversations. We actually had a great conversation with one of their customers recently, and their customer, just hearing them talk about how they're using this tool to create a more cohesive culture was incredibly powerful to me to hear that, because usually it's like, oh yeah, it works. It does what it's supposed to do. This person's like, no, I'm an advocate for this because it's really changing and creating a better culture. And then Quantum Workplace, George and I are longtime friends of the team over at Quantum, and they actually have recently released some brand new AI features that are allowing us as talent leaders to use AI to help our managers be more effective, to help them be more on top of the things their employees need, to help them write better feedback, to communicate better during the performance process, all those kinds of things. And I love that because, again, it's not AI for its own sake. It's AI because it's helping managers truly better. And how many of us out there as HR leaders or George's former managers would say, yeah, could stand a little bit of help, maybe potentially here or there. All right. And then lastly, we have best comprehensive solution, Explorance, HR Acuity, doing some good things there. HR Acuity is kind of a unique one because their focus is on employee relations. And most companies may not realize this, but there's actually software out there to help you if you are an employee relations professional or expert or executive, and you're trying to help your company keep track of what's happening in that world, keep tabs on it, actually be able to report on it. That's what HR Acuity does. And then our last one here we're going to call out is Skooks. So they're a learning company, but their focus is frontline companies that need a way to engage with and support and connect with their people. And so their focus is really helping each one of our frontline employees. If you're at a grocery store and you meet one of the people bagging your groceries, or you're at a restaurant, someone serving you there, or wherever you might be, Skooks is helping to make sure each one of those people is able to do their work, perform effectively, get the training they need, and oftentimes it even uses a communication platform for employers that need to reach into the pockets, the phones of those individuals. They need to get in touch with those people because they don't have a better way to do it in many cases, and that creates a connection to those individuals. So congratulations to each of those organizations, all the ones we've mentioned today across all of these categories, each one of them. Rigorous vetting process. We spent a lot of time looking at, examining, exploring these, providing feedback on them because we believe in the value that each of them provides. So congratulations to each of you that won, and we're able to celebrate this. And again, our team's been in touch already to let you know, give you your resources and collateral and all that good stuff for promoting and sharing that. George, any other things you want to give a shout out to, congratulations to kudos before I talk about what's next with some of these winners?
No, I mean, I will, repeat what you said, obviously, on some of those things. One of the things that really stand out, I want to put one company out there, but I'm really intrigued on some of the development of how we are, and I'm congratulating all those who are adapting to AI, which I know you love, and it was a part of it, but how they're really saying it's not just AI, but it's HI as well, like human intelligence is a part of this, piece of that. So I do, going back on as I'm learning the AI lingo on things, some of those things are very great to watch. And so I love when we're able to understand, accept how to make things work for the betterment of the organizations.
Excellent. I'm glad you called that one out. I know you've been talking about that more often. You're actually getting on a stage at some point very soon to talk about that and to do some workshops around AI and how we talk about that here and what sort of practical things that value it brings for employers and how they can use it to be more effective and to serve their people better. So I'm so pumped about that as well. So here's what's next for those of you out there who happen to be winners this year. Again, congratulations to you. We'll be sharing these details on the HR Tech Awards website. We'll have a separate page set up. It'll be up shortly. If it's not already live, it'll be up shortly with each of the winners, each of your logos there. We'll be talking about we'll have the categories that you've won in. So we, in the past, have just kind of had that all together. We're going to try to break that out so that when someone is listening in or someone's checking that out some of you out there may be HR leaders or talent acquisition leaders who are buyers and you're looking for technology. We're going to separate those things out. We're going to include some feedback from the judges. We're going to give those additional pieces of information so that anyone looking for technology sees some companies we've already looked at, we've already vetted, and it gives them a measure of comfort there because we hear from a consistent number of companies every year saying, hey, we're going to look for tool technologies. We've looked at the HR Tech Awards. Anyone else we should consider? They're using that as the first stop before they go further, which is encouraging to hear that after now 5 years of the HR Tech Awards going. It's incredible to hear that, and we love knowing that we're making a positive impact on those people. Same thing. We'll have a blog post coming out with those comments to share that out, press release, all that good stuff. And this fall, we're going to have our Learning Tech Awards. So we've carved that out a little bit because learning technology, there's a lot of nuance in there. There's a lot of different types of companies and things. So we're going to break out Learning Tech Awards as its own focus this fall and do some creative and exciting things around that for promoting winners and sharing those announcements, everything else. So if you're in the learning space and you're like, where were all the learning companies? There you go. You can check that one out. And again, that page is on the HR Tech Awards website. You can learn more about that there as well. So we appreciate every one of you again for joining us, for for those of you who entered the program, support the program. We appreciate each of you. For those out there looking for technology, give these a look. We've given you some really good kudos to these companies today, and we believe in them. We trust them because we've taken a look at what they're up to. And to all of you out there who are thinking about, well, maybe next year, definitely give it a look. Definitely give it a consideration, because it is your chance to get a team that really cares about serving employers, understanding technology in the landscape here. George and I serve as analysts. We look at a lot of technology, do a lot of briefings and demos, and it gives us a chance to sort of give some of those things back to the community in a very tactical and actionable sort of way. So, George, thank you for joining me today. I spent a lot of time talking. Next time you can have half the mic. Appreciate you for joining me, though, and for being one of our judges in the panel, for helping to review these companies and give us some insights into them. Appreciate you and the time you can spend together.
Always, my friend, always.
Absolutely. All right. To everybody else out there, have a great one. Thank you again for listening in. Congratulations again to the winners, and we'll see you again next time.